Welcome back to the fight before Christmas. It's the North American qualifiers, and we're only about halfway through at this point. A couple rounds in, and we have a fantastic match set up for you guys. Spawning in the bottom left corner of the map, playing for my insanity, it's going to be the pink Zerg player, Kane.
And the upper right has the blue Terran. Its complexity is QXC.
So who do you give the edge to in this match?
Before we get on to that, they are both streaming. I always find it fun to open up, same people who are like playing each other and open up both streams. So
yeah, it's almost like a tournament. You put like our stream in the middle and then their first persons on the sides.
Exactly. Okay, now what was your question?
Who do you think? I've got some very strong opinions I want to express, but who do you think takes this series? What do you think? How do you think it's gonna go?
Kane.
9 times out of 10, I would say Kane too. Kane is such a fantastically strong Zerg player. But it was the IEM qualifiers. Were you casting me or was that New Hampshire? I can't remember. Maybe Fenner? QXC played against Scarlet in... Oh no, I was solo casting that one. That's right. Sorry. QXC was playing against Scarlet in a best of 5. Starts off up 2. Ends up barely losing because of combination DDoS and latency issues, but he was playing with a ferocity I haven't seen out of QXC in a long time. Like, QXC's always been an okay player in my books, but never someone I was going to say, like, that guy's going to beat Scarlet. After losing to Scarlet only just barely after the lag kicked in, he goes on to win against Violet to actually qualify through. So, I mean, QXC's TVZ has actually been really good lately.
That's a fantastic point. But just to be, different, I'm going to stick with Kane, because you're sticking with QXC.
This wasn't some like debate where I'm trying to win you over. I was just curious in your thoughts before I expressed mine. So
I know.
It's not like, well, Rifkin said that, so I'm just agreeing with him.
I know, but it's, it's more interesting this way.
Yes, the dynamic is split so in two. It's
here it is, right? Subconsciously, whoever we think is going to win, we sort of bias, cast bias, right? So if we both not cheer that either player is going to win, different player, then the cast will balance itself out. That's how that works.
Now I'm cheering for him. I've taken it that next step.
Oh, damn. Well, that's just too much caster bias. That's acknowledging the caster bias, Rifkin.
It's in game too. The replays are ruined forever. Hey, I want to give a big shout out, by the way, for the worst donation ever. $5 from Oh Don't Tempt Me. Says Rifkin confirmed for the worst haircut ever. You guys are jelly that I shave my head once every 3 months.
So mean. I don't even know what you look right now, so I don't know if I should agree or not. But you guys are so mean.
I've got my hat on like 90% of the time. Whatever.
Oh, I just wear a hat when I get a bad haircut.
Well, no. When I cut my hair, I actually cut my own hair, so whatever.
Are you really?
Yeah, I've been doing it for years. It's cheap.
So when people tell you that your hair looks bad,
do I get offended? No. I'm like, hey, I took a razor to it. It'll grow back in like a month. Whatever.
I don't understand. I'm not even that girly and I don't understand. Okay, whatever.
Alright, guys. As we get through this game, we do see a pretty regular opening out of QXC. I say regular in the context of actually a third CC. Sorry, before this sounds like I'm getting too general with it. You don't usually tend to go for heavy Reaper pressure, and you're not really pumping out faster Hellions if you're going to go for a really, really greedy build. The problem is, though, when you do go for a third CC build like this, oh boy, does it open up a world of problems. If Kane were to see this, like, instantly Roach Horde and Bailey Nest goes down. But the Overlord's not in position to see it, and he might just get away with it.
Yeah. 1 base Baneling, 2 base Baneling. Those would all probably kill it. Just straight up. There's no Hellions. There wouldn't be a contest. But as you said, he doesn't know. And even then, some people just really don't want to stray away from what they thought they were going to do in the beginning of the game. So they kind of just like say like, oh, well, I could have, but whatever. Well,
one of the things that I love hate about this is every time we see a Terran player, from North Americans to Koreans, to like, if in a ZVT especially, they get away with a third CC, oh boy, does this just echo over to the mid-game so hardcore. This is the sort of thing that lets Terran players get that sudden, like, 40 supply out of nowhere. You've suddenly got production at the wazoo. You're pumping out 11 Marines way earlier than you should. I mean, this third CC leads into a lot of really dangerous things for Kane.
Yeah. QXC throws down a second barracks as well as that factory. They're interesting. Kane throws down a fairly early Baneling Nest, even for, like, defensive purposes. Like, that was just a little bit early. We'll have to see if he actually plans on doing anything with it. At this point, Hellions would usually be out in the field. You would at least see the Hellions bulking up at the natural with his Overlord. So that might be telling him, well, as well as that Overlord that just died, that a third CC had been made, really, really quickly.
It's a bit unfortunate that Overlord didn't get a little bit further in, because he would have seen no starport, or at least nothing nearby, and that would have perhaps signaled him something was up. But Kane not going to be able to take the opportunity. And the thing about Kane too is, like, I know Kane to be more of a macro player than an all-in player by default. I mean, I know for a fact that if he sees the opening for like an all-in, he'll do it. But he didn't, so he hasn't, and it's a little unfortunate. So we'll see how he decides to approach the mid-game. As we've seen, you can take Banelings to a very far extreme and win a game straight up with only Banelings. We've seen Mutalisk control as well. I mean, QXC hasn't automatically won this game because he's got that third CC, but the fact that he's getting away with this is going to give him such a comfortable transition to that mid-game. Right around that period where everyone's fighting with like 2-2.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about anything until he has to push out himself, and that's such a comfortable feeling. Kane, on the other hand, like you said, he didn't really get like a full scout. He saw that there are 2 barracks, which it's probably enough to tell you that like a starport isn't out, but he has to be the one that's more reactive. He was the one that lets the Terran player get away with something super, super greedy. It's like, the feeling a Protoss player must get when they see that a 3-hatch for a pool was allowed to go down. They're like, oh, come on, damn it. But Kane has to deal with that. Kane is actually building a lot of Lings right now and a couple of Banelings. Is he going to try and attack the third?
I don't know. I feel like this is more defensive, truthfully speaking. I mean, 9 Banelings?
Yeah, that's and on this side of the field, too. Definitely would say defensive, but against what? Like, you don't build Banelings against just Hellions, and you see that there's a third down, so you know that you can wait till, like, about 10:30 to bake them, I think, so...
I'm thinking he was maybe a little bit worried there might be a Hellbat push or something, because it is such a common thing to see. Whether that was the case or not, Lings can continue their attack over here on the left side. They will clean up a lot of the Marines. Great surround there out of Kane. He's got Creep Spray going down too, so the Command Center cannot land so easily. The Hellions have to come back home to defend.
Yeah. That full surround is really nice. QXC is probably better off just picking all that up, but... Oh well. 2 Marines taking those Overlords. It's going to be quite a while, and behind that, Kane does get a couple more Lings, of course, but also a 4th base.
So it's being suggested your incredibly mean behavior towards my haircut is because you're jealous and want one. So
me?
If we ever go to an event together, maybe
I told y'all you were mean. How did I come about to be mean? I was just flabbergasted he does his own haircutting. That's it's unique. Hey, Lings?
Yeah, do you forget something? Keys, check. Wallet, check. Oh, Hellions, damn it.
Okay, that ends up going down. That earlier attack where he killed a lot of those Marines is a pretty big deal. The medevacs are obviously already out. Usually you can start pushing when you have 2, definitely when you have 4. And now with 4, this army doesn't really look that big. That should be like 10 more Marines with that.
Well, the rocks are taken down. This could give him a little bit of a clearer path when it comes to responding. We finally have Mutalisk coming out, so medevacs aren't going to be that big of an issue, but it's not like QXC's been doing crazy drops and getting away with anything up to this point anyways. The Mutalisks are just going to be pretty good for harass, but accent his army just a little bit more. Until those Widowmines really come into production, I mean, Kane's able to get away with just spamming Lings like this. It's not so much about the medevacs, or is it the Marines? It's just with no Widowmines to worry about. There's no pressure to accidentally walk over one with all your Banelings.
I mean, despite QXC's very greedy opener that he got away with, Kane is still up in supply, looking really good for just a regular TVZ. Actually throwing down a fairly fast infestation pit. I don't know about this. I mean, it'd be cool if we saw swarm hosts. That was a big hype. This is going to be the next step in DVT back when Suit was doing it a couple months ago. And then no one really did it. Either no one tried to do it or everyone did try and they couldn't do it. I don't know. But if this was for like a really fast hive, that's really ballsy. It's really brave. You don't usually think you're going to get away with it. Even if it's like 20 minutes, you're still a little afraid to do it. It is going to be for Swarm Host. Look at that! Oh.
Okay, so Kane has actually been a really avid Swarm Host player forever. At least I'm thinking back to the days where like Heavy Rain was in the map pool and such. He's not... It's not like... Okay, there was Scarlet IM... Scarlet tried to do a Swarm Host versus Terran strategy, and it worked out very poorly because it was unpracticed and a bit awkward. And I remember hearing some backstage murmurs that the reason she did it was because she didn't know what to do and just asked, and someone said, give it a shot. That's not going to be the case here for Kane, though. This is practice, this is refined, he knows how to play it out, he's very comfortable with Swarm Host in general. So this is actually going to be kind of cool to see how this goes down, because I don't know that QXC's had to deal with a lot of players who play like this.
Creep has gotten a little out of hand, so we will have to wait a little while to actually start pressuring that third. When you think back to a regular TVZ, and usually that third has already been pressured, the fourth is like pretty scary to hold too. Hasn't really happened. They both maxed out without any pressure really going down, but that doesn't mean that QXC is already towards that kind of perfect composition against a normal like Ling Yuta. Against Swarm Hosts, that's a little different. I don't think QXC has seen them yet.
This hallway. Oh, too many times have we seen this hallway. We go, it's just such a death trap for both sides. But gets in here away from the Woodmines, gonna take some decent shots off. Mules are giving chase too. The Woodmines are going off on nothing really relevant. So Kane should be able to clean this up. The Swarmers haven't even really been utilized in this fight.
No, that's one awkwardly out here. Come on, buddy, burrow. There you go. Oh, those Widowmines almost got a great shot off, but instead they died to the Banelings. And this didn't go as poorly as we've seen the hallway of death go before, but it does still end in Kane's favor, and QXC might be better off just consolidating his forces. There you go, he boosts back. He does switch over to tanks, though. Yeah, not many people go for the Swarm Host style, but one of the things that we saw, like, for instance, like MMA do, was that, you know, besides dropping everywhere, or trying to, getting tanks, Widow Mines obviously can friendly fire even more so if Locusts are around, or just plain old waste their shot on Locusts as Locusts are free.
I got another haiku prepped and ready.
This is gonna be like that one time. Oh, what was that one time, like in the big one or whatever, when everyone was just writing freaking poems?
Uh-oh, the police. Don't be lewd on your Twitch stream. Logan, Twitch admin.
What? That, what? Why? Okay.
Shout out to Logan lurking in chat, man. Thanks for always tuning in and supporting the channel.
Anyways, Kane has, you know, successfully deflected QXC's one big push. There weren't a whole lot of other ones going down. And now he feels comfortable enough to go up to Hive. He's going to be able to get to upgrades, although still later than QXC's.
It's really weird to see that range upgrade come out. I mean, the Swarm Hosts are a really big part of this. They're not just to soak the Widow Mines. I think, like, the way this strategy kind of evolved, like, originally it was, alright, you get a couple of Swarm Hosts, they'll soak the Widow Mine hits with the free units, so your critically important units like Banelings can live to see another day. But what I really like out of Kane, look at this base. Look at the static defense. Like, he's not going to get caught off guard by, like, 3 Marines that get dropped errantly into the main. He's not going to lose a spawning pool with the Queen. He's actually well defended. And the nice thing about these spines is if he can start getting enough map control, he can start bringing these offensively a little bit later on.
Yeah. I mean, that was always the nice thing about the Swarm Host, is that if you could play it correctly, the idea was that they're going to buy you enough free units that you'd be able to afford a Hive, and you'd be able to afford things that you usually wouldn't when you're constantly trading with the Banelings and Lings. We have a huge encounter going down. The tanks were not sieged, but then they soak up most of the Banelings. Still kind of doing their jobs. You know,
we didn't really touch base on that too much, but I do like that he started pumping not just 1 but 2 siege tanks. A common strategy we've seen players actually respond to this with, outside of extreme drops and crazy Korean micro, is actually just swapping over to play a more mech style of dealing with those Swarm Hosts. So the tanks being integrated into this is not a bad choice at all, but they were caught completely unguarded, and that was what kind of took away their zest, their firepower. But I do worry that as we get further into the game, if Kane is not, if QXC's not careful, like, yeah, the Swarm Hosts, the Banelings, and the Mutals are all scary, but now Kane's got the option for the Ultralisk. Kane's got the option to possibly swap to Broodlords. Hive Tech is a whole nother can of worms when it comes to serve.
Yeah. But it gets a little interesting. Even back when we saw Snoot in his, like, heyday with Swarm Hosts, we never really saw games go, like, super, super late, I would say. The games dragged on, but it never felt like the late game was there. Like, we didn't see, like, mass Ultras or, you know, Broodlords or anything like that come out. But if Kane decided to do that, how will that incorporate with the Swarm Hosts?
Well, I think he's going to choose... Oh, actually, hold up. I didn't even realize a bunch of Lings slithered on in here to the natural... Or, sorry, the third base. Under attack in a big way, so lose a lot of SCVs for this. Nothing home to really defend it. The rally point's not there. is trying to push into the Swarm Host, and Kane's going to buy himself a lot of time. But what I was going to say was these Swarm Hosts are well protected. By the time Kane or QXC pushed on top of him, Kane's already got Banelings ready to push everything back. Mutalisks are being used not offensively but defensively, and he's letting the Swarm Host and the Locusts do the damage.
Finally clears up those Lings, and he is on 5 bases, 6 orbital, something like that. Main attack went down, and QXC just kind of got obliterated right there. Down like 50 supply, has to run home. And Kane, well, he has 6 ultras to mix in here, and the I mean, the tanks actually are decent against ultras, obviously, but the Marauder count's still really low.
So one of the things I think, going back to like that engagement, say over here where the tanks died, the same way Kane is using his Banelings strictly to protect his Swarm Host, QXC kind of needs to almost perform the same sort of thing. Like, the Marines aren't really the priority anymore. They have to be sacrificed to keep those tanks alive. You can produce Marines so much easier than you can tanks. This high ground from the grass is actually working out really well for him.
Yeah. I mean, QXC has gone up to, as you know, almost all the bases on his side of the map, although he might lose the top left. No, he's okay. It still doesn't feel like he's very much so in control of this game. Kane has just been taking the better engagements. He's on all of his bases himself, or almost so, and he's a really big bank as well. I just, like, as a whole, I feel better for Kane in this game.
Oh, here comes the Ultras. Revealed on top of this. The Banelings just roll right underneath this Medivac, I guess, cluster. Takes out all the Marines. And GG's going to be called. Kane will take game number 1 in this best of 3.
Those tanks, man. There's like 6 of them and they weren't sieged.
You know.